Hey there, this is Chapman here at Jtech, and today we're going to be taking apart a torque converter. And I'm going to explain power flow and how this torque converter actually works inside of your engine in relation to your automatic transmission. We'll start by talking about where this actually sits in between your engine and your transmission. This is the case for the torque converter that's usually welded together. This part is actually what bolts into your flywheel, or some call it a flex plate, which then bolts into the output of the crankshaft, which is what supplies power. This is basically just a fluid coupler. It sends fluid through here, spins it in reverse direction, and then down here is when it bolts, or in this case it actually has cutouts where it slides into the main shaft of your transmission. So we'll go ahead and start taking this apart. This is a lockup torque converter, so when you start slowing down to idle speeds and into low speeds, the fluid will actually change direction in here and use reverse polarity to push up on this impeller here, or the turbine here, which then on here it has what almost looks identical to brake pads on here, which then pushes into the case of the torque converter, which allows it to slow down and work in idle speeds while also being in drive. So as I said, this is a turbine. Fluid gets automatic, or transmission fluid that your automatic transmission takes gets put in through here and actually spins inside this turbine. Also, another thing is this is where it comes out of your engine into the torque converter. Yeah, so that's what the inside of the turbine looks like. Also in here we have what is a stator, which is basically like a one-way clutch. On here there's bearings, sometimes there's bushings in here, but what I mean by one-way clutch is it only spins in one direction. If you try to spin it the other way, it will lock up, which is how they use the reverse polarity to bring the vehicle to stop while also being in gear. So, or some people call it a stag. And then lastly, we have the impeller. This is the impeller, which actually has reverse fins in here and corresponding to the turbine. This is the part that, like I said, has cutouts where it splines into the main shaft of your transmission. This is just the last part of the torque converter before it fully transfers power to your transmission. So yeah, that's about the basics of it. Let me put it back together. Another thing to remember is that this turbine here actually spins freely inside of the torque converter. It's the pressure of the fluid transfer that allows it to maintain its place. It does spin freely inside of the torque converter. And that's all there is to it. That's a basic overview of how a torque converter works and its function inside the power flow from the engine to the transmission.